Start off with a quote from the fabulous actor, Welshman Windsor Davis. Oh dear, how sad. Never mind. Welcome along to the Cardiff City phone-in on the show tonight. We got Al Worth, we got David Collins, and first-time guest Tom James, who's joining us from he's in recuperation in a hospital, but great to have you with us tonight, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll go to
Alice's iPhone
first. If he's okay, Al, yeah.
Yeah, we just had a big oof.
So Al had his birthday celebration weekend, and it started off by going to watch Cardiff City play on Saturday. What could possibly go wrong? And Al, we had a little chat as you were leaving the Canton End, off to more merriment for the evening. Give us your take on Saturday. It's a fairly grim affair, I thought, and we'll come on to their goal in a bit, but not great.
No, it's just weird to start, isn't it? Really, I mean, I think we've got players who don't want to be there. They can't wait to leave now, can they? We said last week we thought the season was over. We had a little bit of a glimmer of hope getting a result at Preston, but I think we everyone was in agreement. We had to get, we didn't have to get something Saturday to win. As simple as that. And as we said last week, we were all but down as far as I was concerned, and saw nothing on Saturday to change my mind. Where to start? I mean, everyone is turning now. It feels like the club's so disconnected from us that we all give a damn, but it seems like we're supporting a football club that doesn't seem to be giving a damn about us at the moment. It's difficult, isn't it, Steve? Where to start? I mean, everyone's throwing it at Omar Rizza. I've always said it goes right to the top as far as the football club's concerned. Yep. My view is, you run the people who run the business responsible for running a good business. They're running it's I'm not going to swear, but it's not the greatest.
No, there's an analogy to a brewery and the running of a brewery, which brings to mind.
And towards the end, well, it was at the end, wasn't it? And we've been a patient bunch throughout the season. I think the players got all they deserved at the end of it. I just don't know. Did they realise the importance, or were they just stage struck on the day, or I don't know. And I can honestly see us go to Sheffield United on Friday and getting a proper hammering, because there's nothing left in those players. I just can't see. And the man behind them was supposed to be, got inexperienced coaching staff. And honestly, Steve, we talk an hour about it, couldn't we? Which we're about to do.
We're going to try and do. Yeah, we're going to try to find some highlights.
We're just going around. I feel we're just going around in circles, aren't we, at the moment?
Yeah.
And I keep coming back to the same. I keep coming back to the hierarchy. I think we're going to go down, and I fear for the future of rebuilding next year, because I can't see any manager worth the salt wanting to come to us, and I can't see any players wanting to come to us. So where do we go from there?
Okay. Well, look, I'll go to Tom. I'll go to Tom next because Tom's in a hospital at the moment, so you get the sympathy vote, Tom. Yeah,
I think I need it after this week.
Yeah. Well, how would you see things? In terms of, I suppose, apportioning. I'll go with the word blame. I suppose if it's almost like an inquest, really. With City, it's been so it looks like it's going to. Well, it's got the makings of being a disastrous 125th season. What's your take on it? Who's to blame? And what's your general thoughts on things?
Well, ultimately, I think it's down to the board, and then it's trickled down from there. Really, we're not organised at all. Nothing's in place. We could have had a decent manager in, and his lack of experience is clearly showing, in my opinion. As nice as a bloke is, I don't think tactically he's that aware, and he's not experienced enough to be in this league. And when I look at the players, they don't seem to have any style of play. They're not sure who's meant to play where, what they're meant to be doing. They seem to be running out of ideas, if you like.
Yeah. So
So
I'll give you this one, Tom. A friend of mine came over. I was sitting with him. I saw Al on the weekend. A friend of mine, Jeff Delacruz. He's officially our Irish branch on the show. he flew in on the 5 o'clock flight or something ridiculous from Dublin. Managed to lose his phone in a taxi and whatever. He's just getting it back now tomorrow. He had a bit of a nightmare. We met up, came to the match, and his take was, we were talking about it on the way home, and I was talking about the formation that we play, because it seems like we still go. I don't think we played 4-4-2. Somebody said 4-4-2. I didn't see that. I thought Robinson was a bit withdrawn, actually. So I thought it was again the 4-2-3-1. And the 4-2-3-1 is the thing that we had, when Errol was there. Errol played 4-2-3-1. Rizza was on the staff. We still play 4-2-3-1 almost habitually week after week. And Jeff's point was, Tom, that so I said, how would you change things tactically? He said, well, the problem we got, which is an interesting perspective, that basically Rizza has inherited Errol's squad, which was, kind of chosen to play that formation. Would you buy into that, or surely I just think surely players can play other ways. Why can't we play two up front, for example?
It should be two up front when you got two strikers, or two decent strikers. People say about Robinson, but he's our top scorer. So you got that. These players need consistency, and they need to know, decent instructions what to do. No player is going to play well if they don't get that consistency. But like I said earlier, it's not knowing what they're doing, and this one up top when you got no supply, it's not working for me.
There's no supply.
There's no supply, and you can't blame a striker. Do you mean the striker then has to drop deeper? A striker should really, ideally, in my opinion, should be on the last defender. So if you got strikers playing too deep, it's going to take that away. It's for me, it's got to be two up top. And if any players seem to be walking around lack of effort, they need to come off. Not in the 70th minute. They need to come off straight away. If you turn up to your job and you didn't perform, you get told.
Yeah. Well, David Collins is with us, and David, remind us of the publication that you mostly put your journalism out on these days. David Collins.
Pardon?
What's the name of the publication you put your work?
Oh, sorry. I write for a website called Prost International, and they generally provide development opportunities for young journalists and journalism students.
Yeah,
but they also support one or two more mature writers, like myself. Part of the role is to act as a bit of a mentor to the youngsters, but it also means I can publish to the website and then put my grumblings out to a worldwide audience.
So you've got to be objective, then, David, haven't you? Sort of as a journalist.
I am. When I'm in the I don't tend to cover Cardiff City matches these days. I cover the international setup, hence the Wales banner behind me. But you're right, Steve. It does make you watch the game through a different lens, and you look at the opposition a lot more. But when I'm at Cardiff games, I'm a bigoted, one-eyed fan.
Good.
I've been scratching things down there. You mentioned, Winter Davison TV titles, and Tom mentioned running round in circles, and I've called that ever decreasing circles.
Yeah, we could focus a whole show on comedy titles tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. I must give a quick plug to the West Ham banner at Anfield, and they had East End Girls, which I thought was particularly clever from the Pet Shop Boys angle. Yeah. Anyway, I thought Cardiff City started with a 3-5-2.
Did you?
Formation. I thought they started with 3-5-2 with Robinson and Salek up front. Yeah. But first of all, we're missing. Where to start? We haven't had proper fullbacks all season. Perry NG is a good fullback. Renamoto, I'm not so sure. Collins seems to have been injured since the day I met him. O'Dowd's a good player, but he's not a left back. And then we're looking at, and there's no quality in the side. I think the player that sums it up for me is a Chris Willock or Wilcock.
Yeah.
Was he a free transfer from Queen's Park Rangers?
That's right. Yeah.
We're signing players who aren't wanted by Queen's Park Rangers. That is not a recipe for, up the Football League we go.
Yeah.
There's just not the quality. Individual players are okay, and the likes of, I don't know, Isaac Davis and Kean Ashford, they're good players, they're good kids, but, can they do it against Stoke on a grey Saturday night? No. There's just not the quality throughout the whole team. And you can criticise Tan, and Tan will say, well, make me an offer and I'll sell you your club. And that's hard to argue with. He's made some poor decisions. There's no football knowledge in the hierarchy. But it's and this thing where we go from stop go, limping on to a new manager. I've even heard talk of, bring Warnock in for the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Will we say if when we go down, would Nathan Jones still fancy it, particularly if Charlton don't go up? Potentially. Will he go for an Aaron Ramsey player manager type role? That's a possibility. Otherwise, we'll get some bit part manager that we've never heard of, signing bit part players that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a colleague the other day, and I said, well, there aren't too many big teams now in that League One, because the likes of, your Portsmouth, Birmingham, they're all coming up. But no, you got Reading, Huddersfield, potentially Wrexham, Blackpool, Bradford are going to come up. They're going to make a fist of it. It wouldn't be an easy league if we went down. Derby, potentially. Luton, potentially. It wouldn't be a...
We wouldn't be coming back up, would we, if we went down?
Well, in the 70s, Steve, you remember, we were relegated and then roared back on a wave of hysteria, with... in that wonderful kit. But you can't guarantee that these days.
No.
Peterborough, I wouldn't write off Peterborough next year. They've won that cup 2 years running it. And then you think, oh God, we'd be in the first round of the FA Cup. We'd be in the
EFL Cup.
Looking at it, we've got the first round of the FA Cup. Okay, the game's piling on. Okay, with no international breaks. Okay, it'll be hard. Okay, and like we said this year, we should have had a manager. I mean, we had high expectations at the beginning. We were saying we should have a manager who's used to getting the team out of the Championship. Then we should have got a manager who's used to keeping people in the Championship. Next year, because I'm firmly believe we're going to go down, we need to have someone who's experienced in League One to get us out of League One.
Yeah, Nathan Jones. Ian Walsh, the BBC Wales pundit, always says that Cardiff City always go this stop go manager. There's never a strategy, and they just they bring in the assistant coach. He wins 2 games, and then that's it. How many managers have we had like that?
13 or 14, is it?
It's because we're normally paying off former managers, though. So this is the problem. So he's got 2 or 3 managers on the payroll at once. That's the difficulty that we've got. But I just think that if we are going to go down, okay, we need players who played in League One before, okay? Because what happens is you get good. I say good players. You get players. They come in, have never played at that level, think they're too good for that level. Yeah. I think this has not been a problem with Luton this year. They've come down. They've got players who think they deserve to be in the Premier League. Every team that goes up against Luton the first half of the season were raising their game to play against Luton. And Luton just didn't have the fight. And I think if we go down, what we're going to have to remember, every team, when they come to the City Stadium, they're going to treat it like their cup final, like we've been told we should have done the last 10 games, but we haven't. So they're all going to raise their game to play against City, okay? And it's going to be so difficult. And you can imagine, a team like Walsall going up, for example, Milton Keynes, they'll come to us, lovely pitch in comparison to what they've been playing at in League Two. Okay, and I just think we're going to struggle unless someone gets the club by the scruff of the neck and says, right, we need a manager who's been there, we need players who've been there, but all of this.
So Al, the point
demands leadership,
foundations,
not from someone who never comes to the city.
Yeah.
He puts people in charge who've never run a football club aside from this football club. And let's be honest, they made a dog's ear of it. You can't bring people into business who know nothing about the business that they're working in. And all people say is, oh, yeah, but if it wasn't for Vincent Tan, we'd be out of business. Name me a Welsh billionaire who wants to put money in. I accept that. Okay. But the fact is, he's a billionaire who's running a business very, very, very badly. And he's getting us relegated. And he's going to lose loads more money.
So Al, you've kind of answered your own rhetorical question there. You know, there's somebody has to make that decision, have the vision to recognize you need someone with experience of coaching at that level, some experience of playing on that level. But at the moment, I think it's fair to say neither of us have much confidence in that kind of decision or insight coming from our hierarchy. There's a stat here. I'll come to you first, Al, and then I'll go to Tom and David. 2023-24 season scored 53, conceded 70, 24-25, 4 games to go, 45 scored, 66, 2 different managers, same damn story. So David, from your point of view as a City fan, above anything else, do you have any confidence in the club, getting its act together in terms of the hierarchy and how things are run and making changes? Surely you would think that because we're not relegated yet, by the way, but if and when we are, that is cataclysmic, isn't it? And that is a massive time to change, isn't it?
It is, yes. I mean, should they stay up, then you can imagine the club breathing a corporate sigh of relief, and you would hope then they think, right, now let's go forward from here. But to go forward from League One against, Walsall and, MK Dons, etc., that's a completely different ball game, As the guys have said, who would play for us? Who would manage us? We'd get good gates, and if we were doing well, we'd take, good away following. We'd be a big-ish club at that level, but it would be very, very difficult. And, you even parochially, you could have a scenario where Bristol City were in the Premier League and Swansea and Wrexham were in the Championship, and we'd be scratching around in League One. All those things are feasible. And I just don't know what that would do for the morale of the fan base, really.
Yeah, it's certainly challenging times. The stats on the screen there, Tom, minus 21. Minus 21. And we have one of the 3 worst goal differences, and we're in the bottom 3. So I think that probably says something. What's been your thoughts on the way we've defended this year?
Just not organised at all, really. Like, for me, there's no leader in the team.
Yeah.
There's no leadership. There's no spine.
Absolutely.
Nothing at all. We got this with players. You got to want to play for the shirt.
Yeah.
You got to wear that shirt of pride and want to play. But it trickles down, doesn't it? You got the manager who's clearly giving players, mixed messages in terms of play. We've got no style about us. We've got nothing. As a player, it's going to be very difficult, I think, to adapt to that. But
sorry to cut across you, but it was billed as Captain's Day on Saturday.
Yeah,
and we haven't had that, what I call the saber rattling captain. Sean Morrison, Graham Kavanagh, Darren Pearce, that kind of Paul, McPhail. We haven't had that. The nearest we've come to has been Joe Rawls.
Yeah.
Ramsey's a good player. He's an inspirational player, but he's no Tony Adams, is he? He's not that kind of character. And I think that the club has needed that. We also don't even seem to have the same 11 or same squad from one week to another,
That's back to where the manager's not really sure what his best 11 is, what his best players are in the best positions.
Yeah, it's a very hard watch.
Yeah, and he should rotate then accordingly. And we got like Cowell, for example. I've seen him play up top. I've seen him play on the wing.
Yeah.
It's the players need consistency. They need to know what they're doing. How can you train that every week? You can't. For me, mismanagement is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
Of
From right
players.
from the very top. Right from the very
Yeah,
top.
it trickles down, but
Mm.
mismanaging the players. I think in terms of injuries, a lot of players have the same recurring injuries.
Yep.
It's obviously down from management and how they're getting managed.
And
you
trained. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. We've got no director of football.
It's interesting after the Preston game. Omar Rizza said, "I need leaders on the pitch." He criticised the dressing room for that effectively. He said people weren't talking up. Well, I say every week, don't I? We had a goalkeeper who was a captain, and then all of a sudden we've given the band across to O'Dowd. O'Dowd is the meekest, mildest guy, lovely guy, right? Good player, but no captain. And then he said, some players have to accept when they're going to be played out of position. They need to just accept it. Now, when they said that, I just thought, hang on a second. Has he lost the dressing room here? And it's that, show us your medal scenario, isn't it? Those players, I don't think they've got that much respect for him anyway. You can't say to them, well, I had a career at XYZ club, because he didn't. Okay, you can't say I managed XYZ because he didn't. So I think when the going's getting tough, it's very difficult for him to be able to say to them, well, look, I'm going to lead you out with this because I've done it before. He hasn't. So again, he's been put in that position. Okay, and I think he's been put in that position as a yes man. I don't think he's answering back to Tan, and this is why we're never going to Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones is not going to listen to Tan coming in saying, "I want you to pick this
Bellamy. That's probably why Bellamy didn't want a job.
Yeah, any player. I think any manager who's worth anything is not going to listen to someone who they know knows nothing about football. They're going to see straight through him. Whereas I think Riz has probably come in and thought, hang on a sec, this is my second pro job, as it were. I'll stay here, hopefully make a good fist of it, and then it'll be good for my CV.
They haven't helped him at all, have they?
Some people have been saying today, look, he should just fall on his sword and go now, because this relegation is going to haunt him on his CV. He's better off just going now. It's all too little, too late, isn't it? Nothing's going to happen now. We've got Sheffield. I know people saying, "Oh, keep the faith." Okay, Sheffield United away. I've heard people say to me, "Yeah, but we beat them in the FA Cup. We'll be okay." Sheffield United in a position whereby they've lost so many of the recent games. They're going to have to get something out of Friday night, which I'm sure they will. And then we've got Oxford and West Brom. Oxford bringing 3,000 away, following with them. Who seem to have stepped it up when they've needed to. West Brom slipped out of the playoffs. They've done not the greatest, and they're not Norwich away.
Not looking good.
We beat Sheffield United reserves away in the FA Cup.
Well, we played our reserves, to be fair.
Just played the 21s.
Well, actually, yeah, but we've lost some. We've lost some massive games. Luton and Stoke. Not only would that have given us 6 extra points, but it would have taken 3 points off Luton and Stoke.
Yeah,
The world would be this would be a very different show if he'd won those 2 games.
Yeah.
And then, because prior to Saturday, we were unbeaten in the last 4 with some reasonable results. I thought the Sheffield Wednesday game was one of the most entertaining games I've seen in recent years. So, those 2 away draws were scruffy and unlikely, but...
I made a clean sheet.
Pardon?
And we had a clean sheet in one of them.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the worst games of football I've seen in many years, that game of QPR.
But then it goes down to tactics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We seem to be in front and do well, and then he changes things up.
Nigel Blues
5 at the back.
Nigel Blues has made a good comment, and apologies for we've had loads of comments coming in, but
Yeah,
I think
fire away, Al.
Yeah, no, there's loads. But Nigel's just said the worst stat is 27 points, 5 wins from our last 29 league games. We are rock bottom 24th in the league table over this period. That's more than half a season. So we deserved. I think we deserve to be where we are. Ian Williams has said we've got nothing to lose. Get Ramsey in now as temporary manager for the last 4 games. Jamie, not Jamie Anderson, but Jamie Anderson has also commented. I'll come to that. Some called Jamie said we should have acted sooner. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, well, definitely.
I totally agree with that. We've been in limbo for ages. Jamie Anderson Oh, I wasn't going to mention this, so I won't. No, Swansea getting alleged.
Well, we're going to come on to that. Yeah.
From Modric.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Davis has said.
We don't want to talk about that.
No, Jonathan Davis has said what I've been always thought. If it wasn't for Tan's bad decisions, we wouldn't be losing so much money. We've got a board run by him, a car salesman, and a bank broker, and none of them any clue how to run a football club. Well, you know, I defy anyone to say that those three people are capable of running a football club. But Tam will come back and said, sorry,
No,
Tam will come back and say, yeah, but I got you into the Premier League. I don't remember the last time you were in the Premier League, so I obviously did something right. I mean, he threw a load of money at it then, and I understand from his perspective. You know, they've had interviews subsequently with players who were around during the Premier League era, the red shirt era, and it just sounded like they'd thrown so much money. Players were coming in and out, didn't know each other. You know, just give it a go. They weren't running a business. He was throwing money at it because he wanted to own a Premier League club when he could come every single week, as he did. Okay, and it looked very, very good, didn't it, to own a Premier League club? I think that sort of went with his business ego. It doesn't look so good. Going back to Dave said, on a wet Tuesday in Stoke City away, does it? So,
but I wanted to ask you, Al, to come back to something you said just then, because I know you've papered over it a bit, but this thing about, you know, Modric, right? So if Modric is going to get involved at Swansea, well, that is you know, something which shouldn't be ignored. He's gone to a Championship club who aren't doing that well. The Championship club, they're a South Wales club. Yeah, he's got no connection with the club.
It's yet to be confirmed, Steve. Right? It's yet to be confirmed. I would say that.
Come to Cardiff, Modric.
But Tan, right? So when Tan came to Cardiff, you know, he came to, we've always been a bigger club than Swansea, by the way. Yeah, he came to Cardiff because he saw us as a big club, potentially one which the possibility of going even further, which we did, which has a fantastic fan base, decent ground, and everything else. You know, so if that Modric thing is true, you know, it just seems like a random thing. You know, why would they, Al, if it was true? Why would somebody like that choose somebody like Swansea City over Cardiff City?
Right. So this isn't. I don't know if this is true, and it's very, very alleged. Okay, so I'm going to couch it in those terms. Someone had said it was like when Trent Alexander-Arnold apparently was going to put £100 million into Nantes. Okay, it was all through tax investment funds. Now I don't know if that's true. Okay, but it just shows the state of modern football, though, doesn't it? When teams from the Championship down are in such a financial mess, yet someone like Modric has got the financial net worth. Someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold, they were saying he was going to put 100 million into Nantes, right? Well, there's something wrong with modern football when one single player can come in and invest that sort of money, and we all think it's all right. It's not. But going back to what you were saying to begin with, why has he gone to Swansea, not come to Cardiff?
If he has, yeah.
Because Cardiff City, if you're not a diehard Cardiff City fan, and even if you are, probably views the same, we're a shambles. We've become a laughing stock. So who's going to advise Modric? Oh yeah, put your money into there. You'll work for this for this fella who never actually attends games, but likes to run it the way he does. Would you like to give some of your money to him? He's not going to do it, is he? Come on, it's just
no.
It's a joke, isn't it? It's a joke.
It is a joke, and probably someone we all know, Rob McLean, Mucky.
Yeah,
I went to school with Mucky. I've got to say he's a couple of years older than me, but there you go. But you know, he made the point today, David, about this. You know, that if this, I think he mentioned this. If somebody like Modric got involved at Swansea and a Wrexham come into the Championship, and if we were to go down, you know, he basically, Mucky was basically saying, you know, we become a bit of a pilloried laughing stock, you know.
Well, we'd almost become, you know, the Newport County of Welsh football, almost, and we just get left behind. I don't know if the Modric thing is a thing. I've only
heard confirmed. Apparently, some of the boys have said. Sorry, Dave. Some of the boys have just said on the live chat. I didn't realise they've said it's been confirmed. So
well, it's a very, very new development. And I mean, and you know, the Wrexham guys, they're not going anywhere. They're going to push on next year to go up.
Yeah,
you know that and that's why they're in it. they're not playing to lose and to
Hmm.
faff around in the lower divisions. So
No.
I mean, we could just be left behind. But what I've noticed, I picked up on something that I think Tom said earlier. There's been no, I think when you said about the Premier League, players come in just to earn a quick buck, and now we got these journeyman players. There's been no identity on the pitch for some time. I mean, it was great when we played Villa. I went to Villa, and we had about 5 Welsh players. Ramsey played, Ruben Colwell,
Young Lawler. Yeah.
But there's just been no identity. I mean, we start with the youngsters, these young nippy youngsters. That doesn't work, so we bring on Yaku and lump it forward, and sometimes it works. There's no identity. There's no strategy. There's no, I don't know. There's just no corporate feel to the game.
I think a big problem that we're going to be faced with. Okay, a lot of us, probably Tom accepted here. We hark back to the 70s, right? We go, I was okay. I remember, the glories in Ninian Park and then the kit and all this sort of stuff. There's a whole generation now of any kids who are 21 and under have never seen us play at this level. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
And since then, football is much more of a thing than it ever was. We used to go down in your park, 5,000-6,000 of us, less on occasion, right? We were football wasn't a thing at all, was it? We were the few people in school used to go. Everyone was into everything else. Nowadays, kids want to be associated with so much easier to Premier League football. There's no one in South Wales, amongst our children, if you like, who have ever watched a League One team.
Yeah.
And I don't think they particularly want to watch a League One team. And it's very difficult. If you've got kids who are going to be, 5, 10, 15, and you say, oh, come down the city with me. We're going to watch them play, with the greatest respect, Warsaw. Like, Dad, I don't want to do that. I'll stay at home and play on my PlayStation or what they're going to do. Yeah. So there is a generation, and I've spoken about it at length with kids who are in even the early 20s, and they say, well, we don't remember. No. We don't remember playing, all those
generation apart. I mean, we went. I remember we lost a game against Luton, and that sent us down. I can't remember when that was. We'd have been about, 83, 84.
Yeah.
And we then spent the next 20 years in those lower divisions.
Yeah,
I'll be 86 in 20 years. You
look good on it, Dave.
Thank you, Steve. But it's a whole generation. I mean, it's like people who follow Wales. They think that we're always in the Euros.
Generational.
We've always had Gareth Bale, etc. They don't remember drawing at home to Iceland and 1,000 embarrassing defeats. So it's gonna potentially it could be a real generational turnaround if we go down. If we come up roared on by 20,000 fanatics and Phil Stant and Cal Dale, Steve come up, or their successors, fire us to glory. Great. Do you think?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but we would be nice. But going back to Steve,
in other words, are we going to roar back through League?
Yeah, well,
we're
not going to do a Birmingham.
Not going to happen, is it?
We're not going to do a Birmingham. I mean, I think they spent actually a good point on there from Jamie. Remember, next season in League One, no big spending allowed, like Bremer's done this season. So my daughter's boyfriend is a Birmingham fan. He's all right, actually, but there we go. And they spent, I think, 25 million on 19 players, 6 million on a striker. It's just absolutely ludicrous. And they romped up, and then Wrexham, I think it's 3 straight promotions for them. And of course, they've got the buzz of Disney, this, that, and the other. But Tom, let me ask you about this. James, David's destroying the kitchen now. He's taking a lump hammer to the wall. I think that's now. But we got this comment here from Steve Wiggins, right? And this is really close to my heart. Al knows what I'm going to say before I even say this, right? We never turn defenses around. The game was played all in front of Stoke. Width, but inverted wingers who always come inside. We're too easy to play against. Dire tactics. Now you can guarantee one thing's for sure, right? Chris Wilder, I think, on the back of three defeats, I think, or 3 games without winning, at least maybe even 3 defeats, right? And they're falling away a bit, and they're not look like they're going to get the automatic place or whatever. But there's no doubt, one of his staff will have been at the game on the weekend. They'll see the way we play, even when Ollie Tanner comes on, right? Ollie Tanner is one of the best left-footed crossers of the ball at the club. And before him, we've got Callum O'Dowda, who's still playing at left back, one of the best left-footed crossers of the ball at the club. And then we have Will Alves, who's clearly right-footed. He was a good cross of the ball, and he's a bag of tricks. But he tried to cut inside and do the same thing as he did the other week, but it didn't come off. But why can't we have? This is an old man thing to say. Stanton Dale, yeah, whatever. Yeah, go back a bit. Yeah, why can't we, when we have 4 games to go, that we have to get some wins? We do not have to be fashionable. We don't have to play the modern way. We don't have to do this playing from the back stuff. We don't have to do this inverted winger stuff. We don't have to play 4-2-3-1. We don't have to come up with all this technical garbage speak. What we have to do is win some bloody football matches. So put 2 strikers up front, yeah, and play with a bit of width. And like Stoke were trying to do us, they were doing us down. They were trying to do the man over, get to the byline, get the ball in the box. How is Salak ever going to score a goal if he doesn't get any service?
We're too predictable.
It's
That's the
obvious.
issue. We're so predictable, and we haven't got no answers. The players, in my opinion, could do us some freedom the last couple of games, like you've said. Play where you're stronger.
Go for it. Play 4-4-2.
Go for it.
Dave Bassett football. Let's go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, just play in your stronger position. Play at 2 up top.
Yeah.
Just
get the ball in the box. Get some shots.
Yeah,
on target,
transition. Yeah. And don't play backwards. Just keep playing it forwards.
Yeah.
Like you said, O'Dowda playing left back. Players like that, they shouldn't be in them positions.
A waste. It's just an absolute waste. The first name, Dave, before you come back in, and the first name on my team sheet for the next game. Guess who it is, Al? Who's my first name on the team sheet?
Go on.
He's not currently in the team. He's sitting on the bench scratching his proverbials.
Go on.
Mr. Joel Bagan.
Yeah.
Play him
left back for me, yeah. Left back.
O'Dowda up the pitch.
The thing is, and we've said this, and it's repeating what people are saying on the live chat at the moment, okay? And we said it last week. An hour before kickoff, we have no idea what our starting 11 is going to be.
No.
Got no idea. No one. It's just like, there's a surprise. It's almost like he just gets a pack of cards and just throws them up in the air.
Take a mix, isn't it, really?
Honestly, and we're there at lunchtime and we're saying, what's the team going to be today? No idea. So you say about Sheffield United, I think it works the other way, Steve. Sheffield United will know how we play. Well, I'm not sure they will, because they won't know who's going to be the starting 11.
Well, they'll know the formation, and they'll know about our inverted wingers, and they know about playing our
It's too easy. It's too easy.
There's no width. There's nothing to beat.
There's no identity.
I feel for some players that, there's some players whose careers will have gone so far backwards having come to us. You likes of Fish. Okay, he must have been okay at Man United, but he just looks panicking all the time. There's no Haaland. There's no confidence there. They're scared. They pick up the ball, especially at home, and they can feel the crowd on them straight away. So a lot of those players, you can just feel it, can't you, straight away? And this is not what Dave Turnbull, Alex Robertson, and so on. This is not what they signed up for, is it?
No,
they were sold a dream.
They're quality players.
And I think
paid right,
they say now about the relegation clause, which I always thought, obviously the clause, I don't really understand it insofar as they can go, okay, if we get relegated. Well, if they want to leave anyway, is it not now in their interest to just get us relegated? And that just triggers it and off they go. Because those players will not want to, as young lads, they will not want to be here. Turnbull going to Glasgow, saying to his family, I'm having a great time down at Cardiff City. It's been amazing. And we just got relegated. Robertson, exactly the same. We just got relegated. Alves going back to Leicester going, well, that was a good experience, but I don't go back down there again. It's just... No.
But what do you think that's? Did you think that was a bit poor that came out of the one of the so-called FAB meetings? Makes me think makes me think of the Thunderbirds, But it came out of one of the FAB meetings. That seems to be a bit kind of an unfortunate thing to be talking about when you get your players in a relegation battle. They go down, they're all off.
That was the fab one from March. I read the transcript of it, and it was just smoke screen and mirrors. It was awful the way at every level. And Vince Allen was talking to them about, if we got money for the 125th year anniversary, and they just went, "Oh no, we've spent our budget on that. Can we do this? Oh, we'll have to ask behind the scenes." He was asking to put up some flags that were costing 300 quid for God's sake. And then the level of answer they were getting in that meeting was, "Oh, we're not sure if you can have that many." I mean,
They missed the trick here, didn't they? The anniversary missed the trick.
But all I'm trying to say is that goes to show how little say the people at that meeting have got back to the supporters. They can't even give them decisions like that. So basically, are those meetings? I don't know. Are they? Is there any point in them if the fans aren't being allowed to have a proper voice and understand things? The transcript of that, I thought, to be honest, Steve, was pretty awful across the board. What went on, and as you say, this has now come out that there are relegation clauses in players' contract working both ways.
Yeah.
They should have just kept their mouth shut. There's no need to say it.
It's foolish, because it is gonna come out. The other thing, David, this isn't verified. It's only kind of gossip, but they were talking about the fact that if we went down, that could impact on the new training kind of facilities, and this kind of thing. That why is Tang going to invest more, sort of thing.
I thought the new training facilities at Llanrumney, they're pretty much in place, aren't they?
I think
but it's planning for a future that we might not have, because I don't know. It just needs a lot more of a solid base. I mean, going back to the on the pitch stuff, yes, I agree with Joel Bagan. I thought Tanner was very poor on Saturday.
He played out of position, to be fair to him. He's not fully fit.
Same story, though, isn't it? It's the same story.
He scored that wonder goal against the Jags, and unfortunately, he's been downing out since then. And when you're talking about get the crosses in, so many of his crosses were lofted in from the. Oh, he was playing on the right way. Lofted in.
He's not right-footed, just to say.
And you can't get any impetus on the header when it's just drifted in.
No.
And they're not playing. They're not playing like a team that thinks they're in a relegation fight. There's very little press. For example, there was a little bit of it on Saturday, and Robinson tried, Tanner tried, and not Tanner, Isaac Davis tried, but they're not playing like a team that thinks they're in a relegation fight. I don't know what.
There's no work rate, is there, off the ball? You look at the other teams who are pressing off the ball all the time, who want, if they lose the ball, they're chomping at the bit to get it back. Yeah. We're just sitting back. It's like we don't want to.
I know they're bad examples because they're masters of their art. But the likes of Warnock, Allardyce, Collins, they would say, right, get there, get in their faces, kick, stop them playing, and feed off the scraps, and Leo Fortune West will bundle it in.
Yeah.
We haven't got the players to play this tippy tapper stuff from the defence against Stoke City on it.
Stoke City weren't great, let's face it, were they? QPR weren't great, let's face it. Luton weren't great.
These all points dropped, didn't they? That we need to be winning.
And the number of games, Tom, where we've had so-called 6-pointers, whether it be home or away, where it seems to be it's either the way they're being told to play, or it's a lack of character, it's a lack of fight. Like David said earlier, seven former captains. They didn't even name them, by the way. And then they interviewed David Marshall, who's basically Ramsey Nesbitt. I mean, you can't understand a word he says, sort of thing. Even that wasn't very well done. Get him on the pitch. But that's another thing.
I'd rather he was playing. Sorry, I was going to pick up on something you said then just before the captain's thing. What was the point you made before?
We're talking about fight, battle, will to win, character.
Yeah, there's. Oh, I know. We said about Sheffield when Sheffield United know how we're going to play. Well, could they tell me? Because I don't know.
That's my point.
I don't know how we're going to play. I don't know who we're going to play. I could throw. The pack of cards analogy. I could throw
Cards
20
in the air,
names down now. Some of them may or may not start. But we are Cardiff City after all, and you'd almost not bet against us to grab we'd grab a 1-0 win against Sheffield United and lose at home to Oxford.
Yeah. We're capable of anything, aren't we?
Yeah, you can
We're
just see it.
capable of anything.
That would be the most Cardiff City thing you've ever seen.
Wouldn't it?
But you know, honestly, I could. Yeah, it is funny. I mean,
I hate football. I really do.
Well, talking about hating football, Dave, and this is going to be a problem. Okay, the club can't give out season ticket prices for next year because they don't know where we're going to be playing, and people are going to be influenced by where we're playing. Okay, it's just going to be. It's going to be the most die-hard idiots like us getting our season tickets next year. But it's been an awful lot of people just not bothering. So someone's made an excellent point here. You know, Hull are playing Coventry tonight, and if they win there, then that could be it.
Yeah, kicking off in 15 minutes. Yeah.
Where's that game taking place, Al?
Hull at home.
Hull at home. Yeah.
So
I wanted to mention a couple of things. So I just want to get into them. The first thing which we should mention was obviously the chap in you probably heard about this, Tom. There was because I know you've had some health issues, but there was not and I doubt you saw the match on the weekend, but there was quite a serious incident in the ground. And what was quite interesting about it was. From a mercenary point of view, I thought it was very disruptive, actually, and it didn't help. It killed a poor match, actually. But this poor chap was obviously in distress, and what was really nice about it, hats off, totally, Yusuf Salah. He noticed what was going on. He actually jumped into the crowd, and they called the people on. So
I made some inquiries about this, Steve, because. A friend of mine is a steward at the club, and I texted him. I said, what's happening? He said, there's been an incident in the crowd. No, you don't say. But I thought, and most of the people around me thought it was like a heart attack or a seizure or a fit or something. But apparently it was a reaction to the ball being hoofed into the crowd. I don't know, hit him in the face or something, and that, knocked him out. And it was Salah that cleared the ball into the crowd, hence why he went in. Now, I didn't notice any of this. This is just what I was told the next day.
He was down quite a while, though, wasn't he?
By my friend. It was 12 minutes added time, yeah. It's a shame they couldn't say, well, let's call that half time and go again. But no,
that's what I thought. Yeah, play a 50-minute second half. Yeah.
So there were 12 minutes.
I've not seen that before, actually.
12 minutes at the start of the first half.
Yeah.
And then 6 minutes at the start and end of the second half, end of the half. Sorry. So we played an extra 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And yes, it putting my Cardiff City hat on, it did play into Stokes' hands more because it diluted any atmosphere that there might have been in the crowd, which wasn't great.
It was good at the beginning. It was a better atmosphere before the kickoff, I thought, than it has been for a while.
And as the game went on. And we looked like we might do something. But then instead of thinking, we now know all the results elsewhere, if we get a point because Derby have only drew or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen. And then that, stupid uncle. I'm sick of delirious away fans. I really am. I feel as if I've had this for
quite loud as well, weren't they?
Well, they are. I mean, everyone hates Stoke, but they turn up, they wear their shirts, they sing their songs.
Yeah.
You have to give them a grudge and respect. Sure. Same with Birmingham, Leeds, Pompey Villa, etc., etc. Yeah. But we didn't take the initiative, and that incident was a factor, I think. But injured by a ball kicked into the crowd. So I've been told.
But good on him, and luckily it was quite one of the most enjoyable moments of the game. Actually, was when he was carried out on the wheelchair stretcher thing, and they're all going blue bird. That was
I did. It was quite a nice touch. And fair dues, even the Stoke fans were clapping when he was.
Yeah, and their medics helped out as well. So I don't know whether was that Tom.
Always nice to see when that happens.
Yeah, it was.
Mutual respect between clubs.
There's things in football. There's things way more important than football. Whatever happens, yeah. But and it brings it all into perspective, because that it could have been a major heart attack or whatever, and it's nice to see that reaction.
Yeah,
so Al, I don't know whether and maybe I'm asking the wrong person. Al, you would have had the same view to me, but when you saw the replay of the goal, it was fairly clearly handball, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not going to clutch at any of those straws, to be honest, Steve. No, come on. It's if we'd have had this, if that had happened, or what would have happened?
Well, why did the goal have gone in?
I'm just beyond. I just feel beyond it now.
Well, let's play devil's advocate there, right?
Okay.
So Ruben, to be fair, had a good cameo role when he came on, put a lovely ball in. I would say in Isaac's defence. That it came at him quite quickly and maybe
I would agree.
Up the leg, yeah. But it was a lovely ball in. But let's say he did manage to get that on target and we did take that lead and it was only a few minutes to go, right? I mean that's what it's nip and tuck, isn't it? Stoke weren't great and then their goal, okay, we bit of bagatelle, own goal, handball, and it goes, that's Cardiff City, isn't it?
But that would just be prolonging the agony, wouldn't it, if we'd have won that game?
It just doesn't look like scoring at all, though, to be fair, do we? We could have played another hour and not scored.
No.
I mean, it's Cardiff City. It's gallows humour, isn't it? It has to be.
It would happen to us, wouldn't it? It would. I mean, it would happen to us.
Yeah.
Like when we didn't have a fourth official. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It would happen, wouldn't it? It would happen to us.
Well, the other one, Tom, of course, is I mentioned it before, but the last ever game at Ninian, and that travesty of a disastrous, goodbye Ninian. I was crying for the wrong reasons, and we're in our 125th season, and at halftime they showed that, Al, didn't they? Showed that trail, the Andy Campbell goal and all that, yeah. And it brought back all those emotions because the Andy Campbell goal, just to say, with this show, of course, that was the season this show started. When Andy Campbell got that goal and we got into the championship, right? And here we are now. So if we do stay in the championship, then I think we should try and feel like we did when we originally did. If we stay in the championship, like you say, loads of comments coming in here. The other one,
Steve, something as ludicrous as Modric going to fund for somebody in Swansea, that might happen to us next year. Who knows? There could be like a billionaire American could say, look what's going on over there.
Hollywood star, maybe.
He could come and take us. Over, and we might have crowds of 20,000 and have a great season and go up. And stranger things have happened.
I am prepared to offer my services to Taylor Swift to meet her and persuade her to invest.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Not many.
If that's what it takes.
Not many. All I would say, right, is not many teams go down and their supporters are confident of going back up, because what you've just witnessed is absolute garbage. Okay, but you're going to need someone there in the summer to, and who's going to be able to do it, because the manager comes in. Who? It's that uncertainty, isn't it? We just need some direction at the club. And it just echoes what everyone's been saying tonight. And we've had loads and loads of comments. Everyone's pretty much on the same hymn sheet, really. Just saying how poor the chickens have come home to roost, haven't they? We've been in relegation battle now for season upon season. Yeah. This was always going to happen. And like Dave said earlier, if we managed to hold on by the skin of our teeth, what would happen then? Nothing would change.
Nothing would change. No, it would be the same next season. We had the massive warning last season, or we have been for the last few seasons, to be fair. Yeah. But last season, technically, we should have gone down. That's when we should have bucked up our ears and thought, right, we got to now put things in place moving forward. And we haven't. And we're in a position now we quite rightly deserve to be in my opinion. And if we do go down, we do deserve to go down. As much as I want us to stay up, we do deserve it.
There's a very interesting comment in the chat there from Jonathan. Luton have taken 6 points off us.
Yeah, and they're terrible. They're awful. 6
points. I mean, that is 6 points we should have had, and they wouldn't have. I mean, we've lost. All right, we've picked up the odd cheeky result away from home, but we've lost the big games, and that is because there's the lack of character generally in the side.
There is a lack of character, yeah.
No identity. There's just clueless what to do. There's no one to tell us what to do.
Like some Days. I like Davies. I like Ashford. I like, Perry NG. I think he's a modern Jason Perry. But Darland, I want to like him, but no. Fish, no. Rinamoto, not really. And you could do that throughout the whole team, really,
But when you break it down, you look at the basics of football. It's a simple pass and move. We're not doing the basics. If you don't get the basics right, everything else is going to fumble.
Yeah.
So
You
I mean, I
can't
watched-
pass and move and transition properly.
I watched Newcastle yesterday, and it's a bad comparison, but and United were saving themselves for the European game. But Newcastle were on the front foot, and they were in United's faces, as if they were saying, "We're Newcastle United, by the way. What are you going to do about it?" And Cardiff City don't play like that. Millwall do, Palace do. We don't. It makes me weep. It really does.
well, we could all be weeping. We could all be weeping by the weekend. The comment on there.
Could be weeping by 9 o'clock,
yeah,
Steve.
yeah.
I'm in the right place
yeah,
for health
well,
condition, I think.
Yeah, well, I was trying to get an analogy into Ken Cassie's "One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest," but I won't go there for now. Right? But that comment there, Al, Hull win tonight, Graham. If Hull win tonight, we're effectively we're down because they're not winning 2 games, and then Derby got Luton, Hull, and Stoke. It really is, it is really end game territory. And the comment to make is that we're all Cardiff City fans, right? The comment to make, Al, is if we go down, we'd only have ourselves to blame. And again, I point to the way the club's been run. It's just not a well-run club, and you can't just assume you're a big club and you're going to stay up. You've got to put it in, haven't you?
The only people at the club who don't deserve to get relegated are the fans.
Yes,
and that's it. And
yes.
That's it. Right? We don't deserve it. Right? Players come and go. Managers come and go at a rapid rate of knots. Owners come and go. Okay, we'll always be there. We were born to be City fans. We're not going to stop supporting City. That's just the way it is. Okay, for hooker by crook. But we're
poison chalice.
Yeah, exactly. We're stuck with it, aren't we? We are stuck with it.
My son says to me, he says, "Why did you make me support these? Why did you do that? What were you thinking?" And I said, "Ask your Grampy." No longer with us. And I texted him on Saturday. I said, "I might have a word with Grampy about this whole Cardiff City thing." And he wrote back. He said, "Please do."
Yeah. But it is
madness. It is madness, to be fair.
It's a very serious point, though. It's a very serious point about lost generation of fans. Because you get kids in there who are age 4, 5, and 6, like probably all of us were, right? You've got a club for life then. Okay? You don't change. But if you lose that generation,
my first game.
There we are. So if you lose that generation of fans, okay, it's very, very, very difficult to get to engage, a local fan base when you haven't got the kids on board.
But you're making a really massively good point there, Al. Actually,
even now, people say to me, who would you support? I say, well, Cardiff City, and they say, yeah, but who's your Premier League team? You say, well, Cardiff City if we get promoted. And that will slip further and further down the list of things to think about. And people will look out for Cardiff City results, but really they'll support Liverpool or Man United.
But we're so well organised. We're so well organised from the youth sort of development perspective. The academy, so well organised, and we're so good with that, and we've got structure and plans moving forward. But that doesn't really get to the senior level. If we sort of go backwards.
I'd like to point out that Rip It Up was Orange Juice, not Edwin Collins.
I know, but it was nice to get a music reference in there. I like that. I mean, Edwin Collins sounds a bit like David Marshall actually as well.
He did do the vocals, but it was Orange Juice.
But look, we're right at the end of the show. Tom came on this week, and of course, he's not been very well. We're hoping to make you feel better, Tom. I think we failed, but never mind. Thanks for coming on anyway. Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Good luck with your recovery.
I need a special Sheffield game.
Yeah. Thanks, David, for coming on, and good luck with Prost Media, and obviously Al. We got to do it, So we're going to whiz around now with a score prediction for Sheffield United away. Yeah, David Collins.
1-0 Cardiff City.
Well said, sir. Tom.
I can't see us taking anything. Maybe 3-1 Sheffield.
Okay, and Al.
4-1 Sheffield United. I don't know who's going to score our goal, man.
Yeah, same here. It's going to
Well,
come from somewhere.
I said last week the Blues are staying up here. I'm not quite as convinced now, even me, but we're going to win. We'll do a Cardiff City. We'll get a win there. We'll get a win there, and then it's all in the Oxford game, isn't it? Was that convincing?
Thank you for your time and your money, as Rod Stewart would
No.
say.
Anyway, cheers
Thank
all.
you,
Good to speak to you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Take care.
Thank you.
boys.
Bye.